Okay, this is our first session for our DevOps and AWS journey. So today we are going to discuss a few understanding of Linux servers, and we will discuss about a few of the Linux commands. And if you want to work on the Linux servers, so know what are the minimum things you should know to start working on it. Okay, so let us start with virtual machine or virtual server. So in IT industry, so people will be speaking about virtual machine and virtual server. So what is this virtual machine or virtual server, or people call it as server as well? So to understand the virtual machine, let's try to understand your laptop. Imagine your laptop. So what is your laptop is going to have? It is going to have a components like you are going to have components like hardware, RAM, CPU, hard disk. So you are going to have a components like RAM, CPU, hard disk, and the system, whatever you are having in your hand is a laptop. This is called as physical machine or physical server. Physical machine or physical server. Then what is virtual machine? So virtual machine, it is also same like your physical machine, but it is not available with you. It is not available with you. That means the physical machine is a machine which is available with you and you can physically touch that and you have it on your premises. But while you speak about virtual machine or virtual server, it is not the physical machine, it is not available with you, but you can access it by using internet. You can access it by using internet. So let us try to visualize this. So what is difference between physical machine and the virtual machine? So if you take your laptop as an example, then it is your physical machine. Your laptop is your physical machine or physical server. But when you speak about a virtual machine, that virtual machine is not going to be available with you. But you can access the server by using your laptop. A virtual machine is something which is not available with you. How can you access that? By using your laptop. So if you want to connect to this virtual machine, so you will be connecting to it by using your laptop. So it is a laptop which is not available with you, but you can access that through the internet by using your laptop, which is nothing but a virtual machine. So there won't be any much difference between the physical machine and virtual machine. The only difference is physical machine will be physically available with you and the virtual machine is not available with you. It is accessed over the internet by using your laptop. By using your laptop. So in the whole IT industry, you will be using the virtual machines or servers to host your applications. You are not going to host your applications on your laptops. You are going to host your applications on the virtual machines or servers. Okay. Now we know about virtual machine and physical machine, but where those will be created? Where the servers are created. So in the IT world, where these servers are created. So ఈ servers ని ఎక్కడ create చేస్తారు? So there are two places in which the servers can be created. One is on-premise and another one is cloud. So what is on-premise and what is cloud? What is on-premise and what is cloud? So let us try to understand about data center before we go with on-premise and cloud. Okay, if you want to create servers that can be cloud or that can be on-premise, you must have a data centers like this. If you want to create a servers in on-premise or cloud, you will be having a data centers like this. Both in on-premise and cloud, we have data centers. On both on-premise and cloud, we will have data centers. Data centers are nothing but in data center you will be having large infrastructure. What is that infrastructure? So you will be having a infrastructure like RAM, CPU and hard disk. So the data centers are going to have a infrastructure like RAM, CPU and hard disk. So whenever you need servers, so you will be having large infrastructure of RAM, CPU and hard disk. For example, if you have 100 GB of RAM and 100 CPUs and then 100 gigabyte of hard disk. So this is your infrastructure in the data center, and if you want to create a server, if you want to create a server with 1 GB RAM, 1 CPU and then 50 GB of hard disk. So if you need a server with 1 GB of RAM and 1 CPU and 50 GB of hard disk, so the data centers are going to create a server for you by using the infrastructure which is available in the data center. So మనకి ఆ data center లో ఉన్న infrastructure ని it will be segregated into pieces and there will be a server created. This is the whole internal partition that will be done by the data center team. But let's go back to our on-premise versus cloud. So whether it is on-premise or cloud, we are going to have a data center. But let's speak about the advantages and disadvantages. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of on-premises and virtual cloud? So if you take on-premise, if you take an example of on-premise, if you want to create your servers for your organization in the on-premise, the initial cost is very high. Why the initial cost is very high? Because you have to set up data center and infrastructure. And also you require maintenance team. You require maintenance team to manage and maintain this. To manage and maintain the data center. So what do you mean by manage and maintain the data center? Because if you have a data center which is set up on your on-premise, so there should be a team who has to manage it. Manage in the sense, if someone requires a server or any other cloud service, so this service has to be created by the maintenance team. And also they have to take care of maintenance as well. Same like how you do the maintenance of your two-wheelers and four-wheelers. So the data centers is also going to have the maintenance cost involved. So they have to take care of maintenance as well if you take the on-premise. And when we speak about cloud, so for cloud we don't need any initial cost. So the examples of the cloud are AWS, Azure, GCP. These are all the cloud providers. These are all the cloud providers. If you want to create your application or host your application in these cloud providers, so there is no need of you to have this setup in your organization. There is no need of you to have this setup in your organization. So just you have to create an account with the cloud provider and use the services, and we have to pay for the services we used. So when you take an example of servers creating on the cloud, so there is no need of us or the organization to set up a data center and to maintain it or to manage it. So there is no need of us to take care of all this stuff. So when you take a cloud to host your application, so you will be creating an account with this AWS, Azure, GCP. These are the most popular cloud providers and they are going to provide the service. So how we are going to create the servers or how we are going to take the service from this cloud? We are going to look at the AWS. So we are going to look into the AWS, like how to create the services or how to create the servers. But when you are using the services from these cloud providers, those are not free. So there are charges that you have to pay for the cloud provider. But when you take the cloud, so there is no need of you to maintain the data center or manage the data center, and there is no need of you to invest on the initial cost for the setting up the data center and infrastructure. So both of them having the advantages, but which one is preferable? It depends upon your application. So if the applications are your own applications, if the applications are own applications, it is better to use the on-premise. If you are providing some service to the application, it is better to go with cloud. So let us try to understand what is the difference between your own application and the some service you are giving it to the application. So for suppose, if I own Amazon.in, that is my own application, if I want to create the servers, so it is best for me to create it on premise, because the application is mine and I am having my own data center. So there are two advantages here. The first one is security, because I am not creating or not taking the servers from the third party cloud provider and I am using my own servers. No one can hack or it can be hijacked. And the second one would be more efficient in the long run. And the second advantage would be more efficient in the long run, because your application is yours and the application would be there for the long period and it will be with you only. Then if you invest at the initial stage and once after it is completed, so you are going to have a better advantage depending upon cost. So when you want to create it on cloud, so if it is not your own application, so you are serving someone, that means a client came to you to set up an application and you are serving them. So in that case, if you create a data center, so it will be a large investment for you. It will be a large investment for you and you can't rely on the client, because the client can go at any point. The client can go at any point. It is better to go with cloud provider to avoid initial cost. So application kanaka మన application కాకపోతే, if it is some other one's application and you are just doing some service to that application by creating and giving it to the client, if the client can go at any point from your organization, it is better to go with cloud, because it avoids the initial cost. It avoids the initial cost. Okay, for our whole practice, so we are going to create the servers in our AWS, which is Amazon Web Service. So we have to create an account in the Amazon Web Service. So how to create that? How to create that? We call it as AWS free tier account. So first we have to create a AWS free tier account. For that, there will be a video which is already created. I can share that to you. It is not a big deal. 1 minute, guys. I think it's better to go with. Okay. Actually, this is the YouTube channel which was created by us a long back, but this is the new video we have uploaded recently. So you can use this link. So if you want to use this link, I can share it with you. Copy. So there is a link how to create a AWS free tier account. It's just like signing up for social media platforms. It is not that tough. So that's why I have created an account and I have uploaded a video into the YouTube. So you can go there and you can try to look at the video. You will be having the whole step-by-step guide of how to create a AWS account. So but if you want to create it, so you have to go to not account console, AWS console. As I have already created, so I am going to log in. But if you are not created, just go to the Google and search for AWS free tier account. Just click on create AWS account. Let me go to sign in console and see if I can find an option. See, there is a option called create a new AWS account. Just click on this, and after that there will be a 5-step process by using your mail ID. And while you are creating a AWS account, you have to provide your debit card or credit card details. So there will be a 2 rupees which is debited from your account, and then it will be credited again. So it's a mandatory step to provide the debit and credit card details. It can be debit card or it can be credit card. Sometimes it may accept debit cards and sometimes it may not accept the debit card. So you have to provide another debit card or you have to provide another credit card. So you can follow the video and you can create an account here. It's an easy process. And once you have an account, so just come here and click on sign into the console. So you will be providing your email ID, what you have provided when you are creating a AWS free tier account, and click on next. Provide your password. And this is the dashboard where you can create your servers or you can use many more services which is provided by AWS. Not only servers, there are a lot of other services as well which is provided by any cloud provider. But in AWS, the server is called as EC2, Elastic Cloud Compute. So they are calling the server as Elastic Cloud Compute. So the task for you today is you guys have to create a new AWS free tier account. Okay, that is about where to create the servers. So let us try to understand about operating system. So there are a lot of operating systems. There are a lot of operating systems in the IT world, but most popular operating systems are Linux and Windows. So even for our personal laptops, you will be having Linux and Windows. But in the IT world, when you speak about servers, 96% are Linux based. So when it is the laptop world, you have both Linux and Windows. Even in the IT industry, when you speak about virtual machines or servers, you will be having both, but 96% are Linux based operating systems in the server world. In the server world, 96% are Linux based. So this is not my count. You can go to the Google and search for Linux Wikipedia. See here, Linux is the leading operating system on servers. Over 96.4% of the top 1 million web servers operating systems are Linux. So it is most widely used in the servers world. When you speak about operating systems, there are two kinds. Two kinds of operating systems. One is graphical user interface, GUI. One is GUI, which is graphical user interface, and the second one is CLI, command line based or command line interface. So what is the difference between them? So what is graphical user interface and what is command line interface? So if you are holding a laptop with you, so if you go into the laptop, so whatever you are seeing, this is graphical user interface. You are holding a Windows laptop, which operating system is a Windows, and the interface is graphical user interface. So here you will be having a graphics, and by using buttons and clicks you will navigate into them. You also have a command line interface in your laptop, which is nothing but your PowerShell or command prompt. Your PowerShell or command prompt. So this is the PowerShell. So if you want to do something here, so there is no graphics involved. So you can't do the right click or left clicks and clicking on the icons. You can't do those things. So in the command line interface, we have to use the commands. If I do ls, so it is going to provide some output. So everything you wanted to do on the command line interface is by using commands. By using commands. If it is CLI based, so we have to use the commands to interact. Commands to interact with the OS. We have to use the commands to interact with the OS or server. But if it is graphical user interface, you will be having a graphics involved and you will be doing some clicks and getting into the folders, and you will be seeing all the front end as a graphical user interface. So why we are discussing about this GUI and CLI? Because in IT world we use only CLI for the Linux servers. For Windows servers, we will have both GUI and the CLI, same like our laptop. But for the Linux servers, in IT world, we use only CLI for the Linux servers. If you want to host your application. So why we are using only CLI based servers for hosting our application is, so when you use the CLI interface of Linux servers, it is very lightweight and it is going to have a better performance, and the speed of the server is also very high when you compare with the graphical user interface. When there is no graphics involved and the load on the server is also very low. There are graphical user interface Linux servers as well, but in IT world, to host your application, people are not going to use that. We are going to use only the CLI interface servers. So same like your Windows laptop, what is I am using right now. So I will be having a Linux laptop as well. The only difference is the operating system is Linux, Now the operating system is Windows. So Linux is also going to have a graphical user interface desktop, but that can be used in your laptop, but it cannot be used in the IT world to host your application. To host your application. And in Windows, how we have multiple versions like Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10. So in the same way, Linux is also going to have multiple versions. But here it is not only the versions, it has multiple kinds. So those are RedHat, CentOS, Ubuntu, and in the Amazon we have Amazon Linux 2. So these are all the operating system names. These are all the operating system names. But underlying everything is going to have a Linux. These are all the operating systems which belongs to the Linux based, but those are all the separate operating systems which are created by Red Hat community, CentOS community, Ubuntu community and Amazon community. So if you want to understand about this, so it is just like your motorbikes. So the engine would be same. The engine would be same. On top of it, there will be customizations and they name it as companies. They name it as companies like KTM, Pulsar, or BMW, or Trump, Benelli. So if you look at all the motor vehicles, so the underlying base concept would be engine. So everything must have an engine. On top of it, you will be having the horsepower or the customizations you made to look more attractive, and they name them as their company brands. So in the same way, all the operating systems which we are seeing here uses Linux as kernel. Linux as kernel. Kernel means it is base underlying concept on which the operating systems are created. If someone asks you Linux is an operating system, Linux is not an operating system. Linux is a kernel. So Linux is developed by a guy called Linus Torvalds. So this is the guy who has created the Linux, and on top of it, the communities of Red Hat, CentOS and Ubuntu have created their own operating system by having their customizations. So if someone asks you Linux is an operating system, Linux is not an operating system, Linux is a kernel. Linux is a kernel. Let me show you how Linux works. So I want to look at the shell where I can show you. See this one. See, look at this image. So for any operating system, you will be having your hardware components. The hardware components like RAM, CPU, hard disk. On top of that, you will be having a kernel. If you take an operating system of Linux, your kernel is shell. So your kernel is shell. So let me try to visualize this. You will be having your hardware. On top of it, you will be having your kernel. In case of Linux, so it is shell. You will be having your shell, and then on top of the shell, you will be having your interface. That can be GUI or that can be CLI. But in our case, it is the CLI, because the applications are going to host only on the CLI. So what happens? So what happens when you one minute. So what happens when you do something on your CLI? For suppose you have entered a command here on the CLI. So what happens when you enter something on the CLI by using a command? Your CLI command speaks with the kernel, shell kernel. It command speaks with the shell kernel, and kernel will speak with your hardware components, and kernel will speak with your hardware components, and then the output will be given back to the shell again, and then the kernel again, and then to the CLI. So it is a two-way communication. So when you do something on the CLI, the command will go and speak with the shell and go and speak with the hardware components, and hardware components will again reply back through the shell to the CLI. So let me show you one example. So let me try to use PowerShell. So in the PowerShell, let me maximize. I'm using some command called ls. So don't bother about what is ls, but it is listing out what is available in the admin folder. Now admin folder lo whatever the content is available, the folders or directories, it is listing for me. So when you type ls, so what happens is, so this CLI will speak with the shell stating that, hey, someone is trying to list in the folder of user admin. So the shell can't do anything, right? It has to come from the hardware. So shell go with speak with the hardware. Someone is going to list the files and folders in a path of user admin. Then hardware will give the list to the shell, and shell will give again back to the CLI, and we will be seeing this output in your CLI. That is the internal functionality how a Linux based operating system works. The interface will speak with the shell, and the shell will speak with the hardware. Let us try to document how Linux works internally. CLI speaks with shell kernel. Shell kernel speaks with hardware. If someone querying on the CLI, the process goes from CLI to hardware, and again back to the CLI with the output. the process goes from CLI, kernel, hardware, and again back to the CLI with the output. That is in the vice versa. This is how Linux works. If you want to specifically mention Linux OS, which is operating system, works internally. So let us try to create one server today. Let us try to create one server in AWS and try to use some commands and learn some commands that are required to go with the Linux operating system hands-on. So when you want to work on any operating system, you must know 4 things. If you want to work on any operating system, mainly you need to know 4 things. Mainly you need to know 4 things. The first one is user management. So how can you create the users and how can you manage them? User management. And the second one would be your package management. So how you manage the packages. That means how you install the packages and how you uninstall the packages. That comes under package management. And there is something called service management. So when you install something, so everything will be created as a service. So we must know how to manage that service. How to manage that service. That means you must know how to stop the service, how to start the service, how to restart the service. You must know those stuff when you are dealing with any operating system. And you must know the process management. So when the services are getting created, so there will be a process which is assigned to that service. So how we can manage the process is about process management. And then you also should know about network management, how the network is getting managed. So we are going to learn about all these management stuff to have better understanding of how Linux based operating systems work. So if you take an example of Windows, how the user will be created when you buy a laptop. So there will be an admin user created by default. But if you want to create a new user in your laptop, you can do that on your own. And how you install the package? You will go to the browsers and download the zip file and you will extract and you will install and you will use the service. But how that can be done in the Linux? That is, we have to learn about package management in Linux. And what is service? So let me show you something. Task manager. So in Windows, you will be having a task manager. So when you install Google, so Google will be running in your laptop when you open that. And it is going to have a process. And it is going to have a process and the process ID as well. So whatever you are running on your laptop is going to have a process and it is going to run with the process ID. See, there is something called Google Chrome which is running, and there is something called Screen Record which is running, and we have something called Visual Studio Code, it is running. So for everything you do it on the GUI, on the back end it is going to run as a service and it is going to have a process ID. And it is going to have a process ID. See, background process. So these are all the processes it is running on the background. So in the same way, when you install something on your Linux based operating system, so there is a service and there is a process for every service running, and we must know how it is managed in the CLI based operating systems. Okay, now let us go ahead and create a EC2 instance, which is nothing but a server. So if you want to create an EC2 instance, so in AWS there will be something called EC2. Let me go back to the home page again. So if you look at here, the recently visited one is EC2. But if you don't find this here, you can go to the search and enter EC2. So EC2 means virtual servers in the cloud. So AWS call the servers as EC2. EC2 means Elastic Cloud Compute, and you can create your servers in the EC2 dashboard. This is your EC2 dashboard. If you want to launch an instance or create an instance, you have to go to launch instance. And then you have to provide the name of your server you wanted to create. I will give it as DevOps practice. And the next one would be OS. So what is the operating system you wanted to take? So for today, I am taking Ubuntu. Ubuntu is also a Linux based operating system. But moving forward, we will be using CentOS 8 to host our applications. But for today, I am taking it as Ubuntu. And there are a lot of versions available, same like a Windows. So we have 22, 20, and we have 18 as well. I think 18 got deprecated. Right now we have 20.4, 20.4, 22. So I am taking the latest operating system, which is Ubuntu 22. And if you scroll down, there will be something called instance type. Instance type is nothing but your hardware specifications. If you look at here, if you take a T2 micro, the hardware specifications are 1 vCPU, 1 gigabyte of memory, and it is free tier eligible. So what is free tier eligible? If you use this T2 micro for your practice, this server is free to use. And it is for 12 months or 3000 hours. So this server is free only for 12 months or 3000 hours. So instance type is nothing but it define your hardware specification. So now I am taking a Ubuntu server operating system and I have given the name as DevOps practice. And if I go to this instance type is nothing but the hardware specifications you are giving it to your server. And the next one would be key pair. So key pair is the process how to log into your server. So for today, I am going to create a new key pair. We are going to discuss more about it moving forward. But for today, if you want to connect to the server which is creating right now, so you need a file. So that file has to be created from the AWS console. So there are some options you have to provide here. So you have to provide the name of your file. So I am giving it as DevOps AWS, and you can choose the format that can be PEM or PPK. I am choosing the PEM and create key pair. So if you look at here, a new key pair has been downloaded. That means a PEM file has been downloaded. So by default, AWS comes with no password authentication. That means you can't connect to the servers by using password which are created in AWS. So we have to use this file as a password to connect to the server. So think in a way, like we are creating a server now. How can we connect to this server? because we don't know the user. We are not giving any username here, or we are not giving any password here. But how can we connect to the server? That is by using this PEM file as a password, and then the default username when you are creating a AWS account is, when you are creating Ubuntu server, the default user the server is going to have is Ubuntu. There will be a command as well to connect, how to connect to the server, that you are going to see once after you create this server. So right now I have created a new key file that is used as authentication to connect to the server which we are creating now. Let me scroll down, and then there is something called security group. Right now I am not concentrating on the security group. I am leaving it as it is. And how many number of instances we required? Number of instances is 1, and I click on launch instance. So you have successfully initiated launch of instance. Just click on the hyperlink. You will be routed to the EC2 dashboard again, and there you will be seeing a server. So this is the server we have created just now. That server name is DevOps Practice, and the instance ID which is given by the AWS to this server is this one, and the instance state. So this is very important. So right now we have created server. It is pending state till now. Just now it has moved to the running state. If you want to connect to the server, the instance state has to be in the running. And then the instance type. Instance type is nothing but the hardware specifications we have taken, that we have taken T2 micro. And there are some other topics as well which regards to availability zone, public DNS. We'll think about these things later. But for today, how can we connect to this server is, just check the server you have created and click on launch instance. Sorry, my bad, 1 minute. Click on connect. So there will be couple of ways where you can connect to the server. So if you have a SSH client, so you can use this command to connect to the server, or else you can connect on the same dashboard as well. You can connect to the server from the AWS dashboard as well by clicking on this connect. See, now it is trying to connect to a server that you have created just now. This is one way, and another way is by using SSH client. If you click on the connect, we will be having a SSH command, and then by using this command you can connect to the server. So how can we connect? From your Windows laptop, you will be needed a SSH terminal to connect by using this command. So if you want to connect, you must download a software called Git Bash. So how to download Git Bash? Go to your browser, search for Git Bash, and you will be having Git for Windows. Just download it. So once you download that, if you go to your desktop and do right click, we'll be having open Git Bash here. So once after you download, you can see this option once you right click on your desktop, which is open Git Bash here. So this is your SSH client which is going to help us to connect to the server that we have created just now. So how we can connect? By using the SSH command. Paste the command here. Don't bother about what would be that command we are going to discuss. So for today, just use that command and enter. So it is asking, are you want to continue? Yes, I want to continue. So what happened? If you look at here, I am unable to connect. It is stating that permission denied. So what could be the reason? So we are trying to pass this DevOps AWS.pem as a password, and we are connecting to this server by using a username, and this could be the server name which is given by AWS. But why I am unable to connect? So when you are trying to use this file as a password, so the file has to be there in the path where you are running this SSH command. So let me try to do ls. See, I don't have any file with the DevOps AWS.pem. So where that pem file is? It is in my downloads. So here I have to open my git bash here. Here I have to open my git bash and I have to run the command of ssh-i devops aws.pem. So now it is going to connect. See, I am inside the server. How can I confirm that I am inside the server? Look at this. I am inside the server under the username of Ubuntu, and the IP address of my server is this one. The IP address of my server is this IP. This is how you can confirm whether you are inside the server or inside your laptop. So opening the git bash here is not equivalent to connecting to your server. అంటే మీరు git bash open చేస్తే మీరు సర్వర్లో ఉన్నట్టు కాదండి. So you are on your laptop on a terminal application called git bash, which is SSH client. So once you are seeing this username and the IP address, then you are inside the server. So how can you log out from that server? Just use exit. See, now you are logged out and connection was closed, and again you are back to your laptop. You are under downloads folder. So let me use up arrow and enter. Again I will be logged into my server. Again I am into the server now. If I want to exit, I can use exit or Control D. So what we have done? Create a server in AWS. Connect to the server using SSH client. So how you want to connect? So you have to install git bash. Install git bash, which is SSH client that helps to connect to the server. Install git bash on your laptop. Connect to the server using SSH client, which is nothing but git bash and the command from the AWS console. And if you want to log out from the server, what would be the command? Exit or Control D. That is about how to create a server and how to connect to the server and how to log out from the server. Okay, let us try to understand few commands in there. So what are all the basic commands you required in your Linux to start working with? So now I am on my Git bash and I am not connected to the server, and I will be connecting back to my server. Let me clear the screen. Clear is for clearing the screen. Clear is for clearing the screen. So if I want to know what is my path in Windows, if I go to some folder, and if I need the path is here. The path is here. But in Linux, you can't see the path. If you want to know the path, or if you want to know the present working directory, so you have to use a command called pwd. Pwd is nothing but present working directory. What is your present working directory? So if I enter, see where I am right now. I am under the folder of home and under the folder of Ubuntu. So right now I know the path where I am. But how to see the files and folders which are available in the Ubuntu? To see that, in Linux there is a command called ls, which is list. Let me do ls. See, there is nothing in my home Ubuntu. There are no files and folders. So let me go to a path called etc, and here let me try to use ls. See, now there are a lot of stuff here. There is lot of stuff in the etc folder, but don't bother about what is etc folder, but concentrate on what this command is doing. So ls is listing my files and folders in the present working directory. ls is list the files and folders in the present working directory. So, but how can I figure out that which is file or which is folder here? I don't know, right? By looking at the color, I can't confirm that which can be file or which can be folder. So to figure out that, there is something called ls-l, which is list lot. ls-l list lot. So it is going to provide you a lot of listings of your content available in your Ubuntu folder. So you have these many files and folders in your etc folder. So how can I confirm whether it is a file or folder? If you are finding a D at the starting of the line, then it is directory. D means directory. In Linux, directory is nothing but folder. If you don't have a D, then it is a file. So if you look at here, package.kit is a directory. That means a folder. Add user.conf, it is a file. It is a file. Now let me clear the screen. And then how can I switch between the folders? So from now I am not going to use the folder. So wherever I am using directory, think it of it is a folder. So how can I change the directory from one directory to another directory? So if I do ls-l, So I have a lot of stuff. So I have a lot of files and folders. So from etc directory, how can I go to the package git directory? That is by using a command called cd, which is change directory. So if I use cd and the package git as the name, then I will be inside the package git. Look at here. I am not under etc, I am under etc under the folder of package git. And how can I confirm the path? I can use a command of pwd. I am under etc and package git. As now you are under only 2 folders, you are able to see the whole path here. But if you are under 10 folders or multiple folders inside, then you can't be seeing the full path here. So there you have to confirm that by using pwd. Okay, cd is for changing the directory. So if you want to go one folder backward, so you can use cd dot dot space. cd space dot dot is going to get me one folder back. cd space dot dot one folder backward. And if you want to go 2 folders backward, dot dot slash dot dot. If you want to go 3 folders, dot dot slash dot dot slash dot dot. So dot dot means one folder backward. So from package kit, I am one folder backward. Now I am under etc. So I am using list. So when I am using list, so look at the format. Look at the format. You have December 7, November 11. So it is not in the sorted way. How can you sort this? With the newest file has to come first. That is by using ls-lt. T means it will sort the stuff with the time and the newest one will come first. So let me scroll up. ls-lt. So what is the latest one? The file shadow and the timestamp is Feb 19. So now I am getting the latest one at the starting. But how can I get the oldest one at the starting? That is by using ls-lt r. R means reverse. See now the Feb 19th one is at the end. So if I scroll up, I will be having the oldest file here. The oldest file is rpc, which is April 1, 2013. So there are 2 things which we learned just now, which is sort ls-lt, sort by time. ls-lt-r, which is sort by time, and reverse. R stands for reverse. ls-lt is going to give newest first. ls-ltr is going to give oldest first. And there is something called dot files in Linux servers. So when you look at these files, you don't have any file or folder which are starting with dot. So any file starting with dot is called as hidden file or folder. So how can we see that hidden file or folder? That is by using a command ls-a. List hidden files and folders. So let me do that. Let me do ls. So I don't have any files and folders with dot. Let me do ls-a. Let's see if I find something. So look at here. There are something called .pwd.lock and there is something called dot. So to see whether it is file or folder, I can use ls-alrt. See, there is a directory with the dot and there is a directory with double dot. And let me show you a file. We have seen somewhere, right, with the dot. See, this is the file which is not starting with D. So there are hidden files and folders in the Linux. If you want to look at them, so you have to use ls-a. And if you want to work on any operating system, you have to know about 4 things. You have to know about CRUD operations. CRUD means create. How to create something. How to read something. R. U means how to update or overwrite or edit. U means update or edit. And D means delete. So if you want to work on any operating system, you must know the CRUD operations, how to do on it. How to create, how to read, how to update, and how to delete. So in Linux also, we must know how to create. How to create means how can we create a file? How can we create a folder? How can we delete a file or how can we delete a folder? Or how can you read the content in the file? Or how to copy or how to move. So we need all these things to work with the Linux. So I will stop at this point and I will open the floor for queries and we will discuss about this CRUD operations from tomorrow. So we have discussed a lot of stuff on the same day, so I don't want to make you in a situation. So let us discuss about these CRUD operations tomorrow. Until now, we have discussed about virtual machine. So what is virtual machine? So to understand that, so we discussed about physical machine and then we understand about what is virtual machine and where the servers are created. In IT, there are 2 things. One is on-premise and one is cloud. If it is on-premise, so that data center will be your organization owning and you have to invest for the initial data center cost and the infrastructure cost. And if it is on-premise, it is owned by the cloud providers like AWS, Azure, GCP. So how can we use them? We just create an account and we will use the service and we have to pay for the services we used. And the maintenance, data, disaster recovery and the whole stuff, the servers has to be up and running all the time. Everything on the backend will be taken care by the cloud providers. So which one is preferable? So if you are owning your own applications, it's better to use the on-premise. So it is cost effective in a long run. If you are serving for some clients, if you are providing some service to the clients, then it's better to go with the cloud to avoid the initial cost and the maintenance team and the management team. And to create the servers, so we have to create a AWS free tier account. That account video will be under this link. So I'm going to share this with a GitHub link. You are going to get it over the email and you will be having all these notes. So whatever we are discussing on a daily basis will be uploaded there. So there will be a video like how to create AWS free tier account. It's not that difficult. It's very easy, just like your social media websites. Just go ahead and create it. But only thing is you have to provide an extra step called debit or credit card. And we discussed about operating system, most widely used operating systems in the laptop world are Linux and Windows. And in the IT servers world are also Linux and Windows, but in the servers world 96% of servers are Linux servers. And when you speak about servers, there are two kind of operating interfaces. There are two kind of interfaces. One is graphical user interface and one is CLI interface. So the servers where you are hosting your application are going to have only the CLI, command line interface. You are not going to have graphical user interface if they are the Linux based operating systems. So if someone asks you, is Linux is a operating system? No, it is a kernel. It is developed by Linus Torvalds. On top of them, we have lot of operating systems which came out from Linux kernel. Those are RedHat, CentOS, Ubuntu, and Amazon. So we have created a server in AWS with the operating system of Ubuntu, and we have connected to the server, and we have understood how to log out from that server, and we have seen few commands today, which is for listing the stuff. And to connect to the AWS server, you need a software called Git Bash. Git Bash is SSH client, which is helping us to connect to any server through SSH. So what is SSH? How we are connecting to the servers? We are going to look at them tomorrow. And to work with the Linux operating system or any kind of operating system, you must know the CRUD operations, how to create, how to read, how to update, and how to delete. This is our agenda for the next session. Okay, I will stop at this point. If anyone had any queries, you can raise it now. You can raise your hand if you had a queries. You will be seeing
Clear.
okay. Is it clear, Raju?
Yeah, clear, Teja. Clear.
Okay. For today's, the assignment would be create a AWS free tier account. So you can go through the video link I have given. So this would be uploaded to the GitHub, and the GitHub link will be shared to you over the email in the next couple of hours. And everyday videos. So everyday videos will be posted to the same YouTube channel under a separate playlist. So please share your email IDs. If it is already shared, that is fine. If not shared, please share your email IDs. You will be getting an access to those videos, and you have to look at the videos from the YouTube. It is not the drive now. The process has been changed. So we are using YouTube to store the videos because the drive is having some storage issues. So YouTube is for free, but there we are creating some private list. So only people whom we have given the access, so they are only going to have the read access, not the edit access or write access, only the read access. Okay, are we good to go?
Yeah.
Okay guys, thank you so much for your time. That's it from my side for the day. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you, Teja. Thank you.